The thing worth mentioning when doing this is use your parking brake to hold the rear wheels in place while you're doing this so it's not all spinning around. But it's pretty easy, and usually the differentials leak, so things are pretty greasy and oily back here. This one is no exception. It does have the side benefit of preventing corrosion, so things aren't nearly as rusty. And I'm surprised back here how the whole car in general, how little rust this is, but this was a single owner Colorado car, so it doesn't have salty roads. We do get a little bit of snow in the winter time here, obviously, but we have 300 days of sunshine a year, so as you can look around, there is very clean, very little corrosion. I mean, the worst you'll get is a little bit of surface rust. There is one spot in the back corner where there is a little bit of paint bubbling, but besides that, it's a very clean car. And that's critical whenever doing a conversion, is start with a really good car. Don't go out there and go, oh, this one's junk, and you end up spending half of your money and time actually just getting the car fixed up to then be able to do the conversion. That just makes it destined to be one of those projects that never finishes, or the one that your grandkids end up finishing. Now, as you can see, I started pulling out the bolts for the axle shafts that go between the axle shafts and the differentials. Now's a good time to check your axle shafts, look at the boots, make sure there's no signs of splits or other damage. It might be a good time just to, while you have it all apart, go ahead and replace the axle shafts so you can get them out of the wheel hubs, which sometimes is a problem. One of the advantages of cutting your floor out so you can put batteries back here is even without a lift, the access is quite good. While I'm here, so this is the main diff bushing here for the connection. It's got a rubber bushing. It's significantly larger and stiffer when you go to the medium case model. Here's the tag for the diff here, and let me clear it off. It's actually a 391. It's got an S in front of it, which means it is a limited slip differential. So this is actually, as far as normal E30s, I think about the best compromise for differential there, depending on which motor you're running. But you know, the small case is nice because as long as it's strong enough, which for most applications it is quite a bit lighter than the medium case. The medium case adds 20 to 30 pounds, and I'll actually throw these on the scale once I get it out. Other things to note, that here is the connector for the speed sensor. One of the nice touches on the E30, makes things easy for motor swaps, is that's where your speedo signal comes from. So others, where it's mounted onto the transmission, when you do a motor or transmission swap, then you have to figure out some way of adapting from one to the other so you can get your speedo to work right. The other thing is the tone rings on these are supposed to be standard, we shall see, such that even when I swap from one differential to the other, it's measuring the actual shaft speed, not the drive shaft speed. So wheel and tire will change whether your speedo is right, but changing your diff will not, which is not the case for most vehicles. So we'll get this thing out, and I'll show you the differences between the medium case and the small case. So these top ones are the most difficult. I recommend removing them first. We've got the jack in now. Come in, we remove the last two bolts, which are just quite literally holding on by a thread. To be careful that you don't end up dropping it on yourself. Now one last bolt. And I always prefer, make sure you unhook your wiring harness. I prefer this bolt to be the very last one. small case differential, which is in good shape, so hopefully it should find new life in someone else's project. Here you can see how easy it was to remove. The main bushing is right here, actually the only bushing for it. 2 bolts are rigidly mounted here and here, 2 others on the top here, and they actually have good access. Speedometer cable is just a wire, and then the Allen key and the 6 bolts for each axle shaft. So now to reverse the process. So one thing I got to give credit for the E30 BMW. There's some quirks for the engines, but for the most part, everything's really simple to work on. It's designed so that you can actually access things. I mean, the fact that you can pull out the differential, and really you could probably pull it out in about 15-20 minutes if you know what you're doing. And then to reverse the process is not much longer than that. And just a lot of the things on this car, the engine and the wiring are the only really kind of quirky things. And the M10 engine's not that hard of an engine to work on. It's just usually not worth the trouble. The M20 is a different matter though.